the alley-oops at Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Matchups the 49ers can exploit versus the Arizona Cardinals. And the Arizona Cardinals are a team that's a little bit different than the last time we played them. Some players are in, some players are out, which means the matchups change some. Now, of course, whenever you're talking 49ers skilled players, it means you're talking about some of the most unique matchups a defense could potentially face. And that's what I like to talk about in these episodes. I like to get into the X's and O's and how Kyle Shanahan's going to use some of his personnel to go ahead and take advantage of some of the matchups that he's going to see. Because when you have versatile players like Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, not to mention some of the versatility you can display with Kyle Juszczyk or George Kittle, you can put defenses in a lot of different positions where it's just tight and tough to make plays. And so the 49ers use their guys probably better than anyone else in the league. I think some of the versatility of Miami might rival the 49ers to a point, but theirs is particularly predicated on speed. San Francisco 49ers, it's not. Certain skill sets provide certain opportunities. And one of the things that we always hear is it's about matchups, but it's also about a coach being able to put his players in the best positions to be successful. That's why matchups are so important. Finding matchups that benefit your team and go to your favor by using the unique skill sets of your players is the ultimate goal. Kyle Shanahan does that better than anyone else in the league. The way that he's able to use different formations, personnel groupings, and motions and shifts allow him to manipulate a defense to get the look that he's wanting, to get one of his playmakers matched up against a defender that you don't want them matched up against. Does it all the time. And when it works, it's huge. And you've seen the 49ers have explosive plays, especially recently against Philadelphia and Seattle, because this 49ers offense is settling in. They're starting to execute at a high level, and they've seen so much from defenses. They're able to transition and adjust on the fly. When that happens, and when you have playmakers to this caliber, you're able to take advantage of all the things you want to take advantage of. So Kyle Shanahan has been absolutely dominating. But with the Arizona Cardinals come different matchups. Every week it's going to be different. There's a different weakness to each defense that you play. Jonathan Gannon was with the Philadelphia Eagles last year and put together a defense to stop the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. Some of parts haven't really changed for the 49ers. Would Jonathan Gannon's scheme work this time? Probably not. The 49ers offense is more effective and more efficient with Brock Purdy at the helm. So with that being said, there's just more advantages to take care of. Now, looking at Arizona's defense, you can definitely find some areas the 49ers can take advantage of, whether that's deficiency as far as just talent or also the scheme that they run, or in some cases, injuries with guys like a Kaiser White missing, a guy that came over from the Philadelphia Eagles who understands Gannon's system and was a key matchup for the 49ers in their first meeting. With White out of the lineup, they have to turn to other players at other positions, and it presents some unique problems for them against the 49ers skilled players. All things, you're going to be betting on this game. Bet with Bet Online. All the major pro sports are in action this week with college football playoffs ready to kick off. Bet Online is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info, including news on pro football, the NBA, upcoming fights, and NHL games this season. Head to the website today to get in on the action and see all the updated odds for the week. Remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. One of the most interesting matchups to me, and this is probably going to be the key to the football game, is the Arizona Cardinals' run defense against the San Francisco 49ers rushing attack. The 49ers rushing attack is usually the most dominant force in almost any game they go against. They're number 2 in the NFL to the Miami Dolphins. but they have been dynamic lately. And of course, a lot of that goes to running behind Trent Williams and Aaron Banks on the left side, the key blocks by Charlie Warner, George Kittle, and wide receivers like Brandon Ayuk on the outside, but also just Christian McCaffrey being the best running back in the league, whether that's his patience, that's his skill set, that's his acceleration, his toughness. There's just so much to like about Christian McCaffrey. And you're seeing this offense really be dynamic with him feeling comfortable in what he's looking at, the reads, how to run within this offense, the proper lines to take. It's just right now a masterclass in run game. 49ers are taking advantage of teams' eagerness to stop them, their aggressiveness. You got guys being patient, not just linemen, Christian McCaffrey, running backs, tight ends, everybody just doing their job to the top level. They're averaging 139 yards per game on the ground. That's pretty significant, almost 140 yards a game. When you look over at the Arizona Cardinals defense, they're giving up 139 yards per game on the ground. 49ers just have their normal average game, and they're going to rush for nearly 140 yards against the Arizona Cardinals. That's not winning football. That's when you start seeing why the Arizona Cardinals are 3-10 and the 49ers are 10-3. One of them is very effective in the run game and one is not. And you have to make teams one-dimensional. And the Arizona Cardinals don't do that. They give up 216 yards through the air. They give up 139 yards on the ground per game. Those numbers are not great. Passing not as bad, but when teams are as effective as they are running the football against you, they just don't have to throw very much. Well, why is the reason that these Arizona Cardinals struggle with the run game? Some of it has to do with edge defenders. They are moved Zaven Collins from the Mike linebacker position to an outside linebacker position this season, which means he plays on the line of scrimmage. And I like Zaven Collins. He's been one of my favorite players since he came out of college. I really liked him. He's big, he's physical, he can move, he's got great instincts. And I always said during my draft breakdowns, I thought him as an edge defender made some sense with his size, speed, and ability to use his hands. And they're giving it a whirl. And I think there are areas and times that he's strong. When the 49ers played them the first time, he was able to knife in and make some big plays for the Arizona Cardinals. But can it be consistent? Here's the big worry for the Arizona Cardinals. You have Zaven Collins, and you know who he's going to be going against? Trent Williams. He's going to be going against Trent Williams, and they're going to be using guys like George Kittle and Charlie Warner and Kyle Juszczyk to help get extra movement and push him out. Because they're going to be running a variation of the 3-4, which means their edge defenders are where you're going to find the weakness. You get those edge defenders kicked out, or you seal them and kick them in, and you find opportunities to be able to run the football. We talked about Kaiser White earlier. The fact that Kaiser White is going to be out of this lineup means that they have to turn to Chris Barnes, and they signed Barnes during the season. He did play against the 49ers in that matchup, but now they've got Josh Woods playing the will linebacker spot. They have consistently went through linebackers and suffered some injuries. So they definitely need to figure something out. Now, they do have guys who can bring pressure off the edge, but we're going to talk about the run game right now. Because if the 49ers establish a run game running behind their offensive line and taking advantage of Zaven Collins and really a no-name defensive line, you have at defensive tackle Jonathan Ledbetter, defensive tackle Roy Lopez, and right defensive end Kevin Strong. That's not even the same guys that they had playing last time. We saw a lot of Dante Stills last time. Now he's relegated to being a part of the rotation. Cameron Thomas from San Diego State is a part of the rotation. So they just don't have the depth and run stoppers at defensive line or linebacker. This is where you find the biggest mismatch for the 49ers. The 49ers should be able to run the ball at will versus Arizona. The only way that the Arizona Cardinals have a opportunity, and this is even just an opportunity to stop the 49ers run game, is if they put one of their safeties in the box. Here's the problem. Are you going to take Budda Baker off of George Kittle? This has been one of the classic matchups through recent years of Budda Baker, an all-pro caliber safety, versus George Kittle, an all-pro caliber tight end. And they just match up and they go at it. So if you're going to bring Budda into the box, I like the fact that you're doing that. Now I get George Kittle down the field against Jalen Thompson. So then, in effect, do you bring Jalen Thompson into the box? If you do, then that means you're going to have some other matchups on the outside that you like. And I'm going to get into those in the next second because those are matchups you can exploit. So you can see just the fact that Arizona is going to struggle with this 49ers run game so much. They're going to have to bring in an extra player. And I really believe the 49ers can just run their basic run plays. They don't have to get too creative. They don't have to be overly aggressive. They just have to execute. And we've seen the runs to the left side be very, very good for the 49ers this year. And when that happens, it's not a detriment. If you can dominate on one side of the ball, yeah, defenses can figure that out. But if they overstack that one side, if they commit to stopping the run on the left side, it creates cutback lanes on the right. When you start getting hyper aggressive against a zone scheme, you can actually take yourself out of the play. So defenses have to try to stay balanced. And one thing that Kyle Shanahan has done to make defenses stay balanced is he's went ahead and he's went to an ace formation. Single back, 2 wing players on the outside of the tackles. By doing that, it has an equal amount of holes on each side. So yeah, if you want to play one side or the other, Brock Purdy has the freedom to go ahead and can that play and run the other way. So the 49ers run game diversity doesn't have to be very significant this week. Now, Kyle could ultimately decide to run some of his exotic looks, and they could be open. Of course, you do have to worry about Zaven Collins or Gardeck standing up because those guys can be speed rush elements off the side of the field and off the outside. That could potentially cause some problems if you're trying to run some counters or reverses or things on the outside, even bootlegs. So you just got to make sure you get those guys fully committed to the run before you go into the counter plays or the boot passes for Brock Purdy. But ultimately, the 49ers should handle the Arizona Cardinals up front. They have an advantage with offensive line compared to defensive line. They have an advantage on the edge with edge blockers compared to edge defenders for the Arizona Cardinals. They have an advantage of linemen and skill players blocking linebackers. Have an advantage as far as blockers on safeties and corners as well. To me, this is a game that the 49ers will establish a run game early and then be able to be very effective in the passing game later. So thank you guys so much for watching. I want to ask you guys to go ahead and like and subscribe to the video. It means a lot. And when you like the video, it triggers it out and triggers the algorithm. It's one of the great things about YouTube. It gets it out there. Of course, if you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. But we're not done. We have plenty more. That's just the first matchup the 49ers can exploit. I talked about this last week. The 49ers are unlike a lot of teams. Normally, when you're going into a game, you're looking for key matchups that you can exploit. It's usually few and far between. Defenses are very good too. So you're trying to find certain ways to get 1 or 2 guys matched up in a matchup that you really like. With the 49ers case, it's multiple because you have so many really good weapons. They match up great against the opposing defense. So next up, I'm going to talk about Deebo Samuel. And when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, they've been moving cornerbacks all around. So depending on who they decide to start, you could get different matchups. But I like Deebo Samuel in the slot against any of these cornerbacks. I like him against Antonio Hamilton. I like him against Starling Thomas and against Cottrell Clark in the slot. To me, that would be great matches for Deebo. Deebo is tough to bring down, and the Arizona Cardinals defense is not great at tackling. So this could be another Deebo Samuel game because you find that matchup you like, you get him the ball in space, and you just let him create. The 49ers establish a run game and then get rid of the football to Deebo Samuel, and they're going to take a lot of pressure off of that offensive line. And ultimately, that's what the goal is for the 49ers offense. To use the clock, establish a run game, convert on obvious third down situations. And the 49ers are getting better and better on third down. They are 47% now conversion rate on third down, getting towards the top of the league. We talked about this for a long time. You get to 50%, you're an elite caliber offense, and the 49ers are trending in that direction. But Deebo Samuel is a extreme matchup issue because you want the physicality of a safety to be able to cover him, but you don't have the athleticism necessary to cover him. You don't have the necessary coverage ability to cover him. Then you want a corner's athleticism to be able to cover him, but you don't have the physicality. You don't have the ability to make the tackles consistently against Deebo, which makes him a real matchup issue. And the reason I like him in the slot is because even against zone coverage, he catches the ball and he can make a play. But Debo is very comfortable about navigating through what coverage he's looking at. And when he does that, he sits down, he's comfortable catching the football, turning upfield, and making plays. So I like Debo Samuel in this matchup. I think the 49ers can take advantage of it. And the way that Kyle Shanahan's using motions to go ahead and move Debo Samuel all over the field is going to make it highly difficult for them to locate him and then find a matchup that they like. Debo right now is playing at an all-pro caliber level. His game is going through the roof. And I think this is a huge matchup the 49ers can exploit. 49ers can take advantage of Debo versus the nickel corners for the Arizona Cardinals. Then you go on the outside and you've got Brandon Ayuk. And Ayuk had an up and down game last week. He had some really big catches against Seattle, but he also had some opportunities that probably didn't go his way, right? I mean, he had the fumble. That wasn't good on what could have been a really big play. He was able to make a catch in traffic, break tackles, and then, of course, Julian Love knocked the ball away, and Seattle got the football. He also had a ball go off his hands, some sort of communication problem between him and Brock Purdy. I'll say it again. Brock Purdy to be able to where he was supposed to be. He came straight upfield. Was he supposed to trend outward? Not sure. So we've had some confusion there, and it resulted in an interception. So Brandon Ayuk didn't start making the plays that he wanted to make, but make no mistake, he's an absolute problem for the Arizona Cardinals. I could not find a matchup of him on the outside that I liked for the Cardinals. There's nobody that can cover Brandon Ayuk one-on-one. There's no one that's in a cover 3 that's going to feel comfortable covering Brandon Ayuk in that deep third. So Brandon Ayuk versus Antonio Hamilton and Garrett Williams and Marco Wilson, who's been in and out of the lineup. I think that's an advantage, Brandon Ayuk. And I think that's something the 49ers can go to consistently. They can take advantage of. Because Brandon Ayuk not only plays just great route running, is able to create separation, but he can also use his body. He's very good at creating space now with his physicality. So he can turn you inside out with route running. He can create physicality using his body. He can high point the football. He's got strong hands. To me, Ayuk is a real problem. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to have to commit to stopping the run game of the 49ers, and they're going to put some corners on some islands out there to stop Debo and Brandon Ayuk. And potentially that's an issue. And I brought up earlier, Budda Baker is focused on George Kittle. Who's focused on helping with Brandon Ayuk? More than likely, the other safeties in the box, preparing to help stop the 49ers run game. One committed there, one committed to George Kittle. Means you're going to have some solo opportunities on the outside for Brandon Ayuk. That's a mismatch I love in the favor of the 49ers. Brandon Ayuk is one of the best wide receivers in the league right now. Over 1,000 yards for the back-to-back seasons. But you can tell this year he is even further along in his development than he was last year. This year, he's that dude. You need to go to him. You need him to take over a game. You can. How about that? The 49ers have 2 guys right now, and really 3 if you count George Kittle, maybe even McCaffrey, that at any moment you can just get them the ball and they can change the game. Right? You need a big-time play. You need a third-down conversion. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, even Jawan Jennings, they can go get those for you. So I think that you're seeing the elevation, and a lot of it is the matchups that you're finding. And teams are struggling to be able to match up with the 49ers run game, make sure they locate and handle Christian McCaffrey, make sure they try to limit the effectiveness of Debo Samuel, and all the while the 49ers have an all-pro tight end that can beat you in a hiccup and really make a big-time play, and an outside wide receiver now that you really should be paying attention to with 2 guys who just don't have the bodies to do it. You basically need 12 to 13 guys on the field to be able to limit the effectiveness of the 49ers offense as long as the 49ers offense is clicking at a high level. If the offense isn't clicking, Arizona, any defense will have an opportunity to slow them down. But right now, this team is rolling. Brock's reading defenses. Brock's getting the ball to the necessary spots, and his playmakers are going out there and making plays for him. Next up, McCaffrey and Debo versus linebackers in space. I love this matchup because the way Kyle Shanahan puts those 2 guys in the backfield, he finds matchups of them versus linebackers. And Debo versus a safety is a problem. Debo versus most nickel corners is a problem. Debo on the outside against some corners is a problem. Debo against a linebacker is an absolute catastrophe for the defense. There is not a linebacker in this league that can cover Debo Samuel one-on-one out of the backfield. Not a one. His speed, explosiveness, it's just too much. Got that route running, but he's also got that physicality. No, nobody wants that kind of problems. And that's the thing. The way Kyle Shanahan puts them in certain formations and motions them into the backfield, if you were in man coverage, he's going to get you locked up one-on-one with one of those guys. And most of the time, they're going to have a choice route. They're going to be able to decide if they go inside or out and create separation and create problems for you. So, yeah, the 49ers creating this matchup is exactly what they want. Debo's a problem. And that's not including McCaffrey. McCaffrey, we see what he does every single week to opposing teams. Now, his catches have definitely slowed down over the last several weeks. The emergence of Debo Samuel, the continued emergence of Ayuk and George Kittle have limited the effectiveness of McCaffrey catching the ball in the backfield. But he's not gone away. They still turn to him. They still find those matchups. But the emergence of the other players make it easier for McCaffrey. He doesn't have as many touches. He stays a little bit fresher. He has more dynamic runs in the run game, but still just a matchup problem. And Kyle is the best at scheming up where you know where the ball's going before the play even happens. Gets somebody to move. He creates a leverage point for one of his receivers. And then, boom, gets him the ball. So I look for Kyle Shanahan to take advantage of Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel lined up against these linebackers. And it's nothing against Woods, right? It's nothing against Barnes. It's just how the matchups present themselves. And what are you going to do if you're Gannon? Are you going to do like the Philadelphia Eagles did? Every time the 49ers show a 4-by-1 type situation because that running back in the backfield or Debo Samuel in the backfield is a fourth eligible receiver to one side, are you going to drop off one of your edge defenders? If you do that, you don't have as many guys to rush the passer. And let's be honest, Arizona Cardinals, Philadelphia Eagles, they want to rush 5. Kyle Shanahan found a little breakdown that makes it so they can't. He found a part of his scheme that makes them have to change their rules. That's exactly what you want to do as an offensive coordinator. Break their defensive rules so they have to do something else or that they have to put one of those guys in a negative situation. Do you really want Cardinals or Zaven Collins out in space against Debo Samuel or George Kittle or Christian McCaffrey? No, you don't. So how do they go about handling those types of situations? I don't know. Because you don't even know where Debo Samuel or McCaffrey are going to start. They might start out wide, motion by. You think that, they're going to the other side. Nope. Now they're looping back around the quarterback. You know, what do we do? Are we playing coverage for a 3-by-1? Are we playing coverage for a 2-by-2? There's just no way to know where that motion guy is going to end up. That's the effect that Kyle Shanahan's offense has. You throw in the little bumper motions with Christian McCaffrey or the exit motions where Debo's running towards the sideline to create space. Just a lot of things to navigate through and a lot of things to learn. And Kyle Shanahan continues to find ways to manipulate defenses to find the matchups that he's ultimately looking for. And that's what he's going to do in this game. He's going to do it with the run game early. There's no reason the 49ers can't have a consistent, steady, and very good run game against the Arizona Cardinals. And building off of that, that'll create a play-action game where they can get boot, get Brock Purdy outside the pocket, and find some throws down the field because you're going to have some matchups you like. Debo in the slot is a problem. Brandon Ayuk on the outside is a problem. Christian McCaffrey and Debo against linebackers are a problem. All that being said, we didn't even talk about that huge matchup. I'm going to talk about that probably on the game preview show, is George Kittle versus Budda Baker. I mean, ding, ding, popcorn ready, main event. Always love when those two guys go against each other. It's a complete battle. Sometimes George gets him. Sometimes Budda gets George. Those are the kind of matchups we live for. These aren't it. These are the exploitable matchups. These are the matchups that Kyle Shanahan right now is coming up with scheme and plays that he can take advantage of. Final installs on Friday, and that's when they'll finish, dialing up the game plan. Of course, some of those things still go in later on. Maybe they change a couple things Saturday, but that's what they're working on right now. And so many favorable matchups in the 49ers way. Look for the 49ers to take advantage of it in a big way. So, huge fan of the opportunity the 49ers have on offense I expect the 49ers to create on offense, get some points, and of course, possibly win this game. And 10-3 versus 3-10. I mean, it showed up on film. It showed up as far as the stat sheets, but it has to be proven on the field. 49ers need a big divisional win against the Arizona Cardinals, and these are the matchups to exploit. Thank you so much for watching this episode of 49ers Cutback. Like and subscribe. I'm on the push for 5K. Listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe. Please give it a 5-star rating. This episode of 49ers Cutback was brought to you by Bet Online, where the game starts. Let me know in the comment section if you think the 49ers have other matchups they could take advantage of. If you think these are the matchups they should take advantage of, I really want to know what you have to say. So thanks so much for coming through. More content coming your way, including a game preview show later this week. I'll get into all the key matchups, all the bold predictions, and of course, pick the winner of this game, 49ers versus Arizona Cardinals. But until then, I hope you guys all stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.